I'm Dave McHugh. He's Gordon Mann, and this is our D3 report here in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, where the Delaware Valley Aggies defeated the Stevenson Mustangs 41-23. In the game, Stevenson actually led 17-14 at halftime, but Delaware Valley, 27 unanswered points to end the first half and start the second half. Gordon, you could tell this was going to be a tough battle, but the third quarter was the changing point.
Yeah, you know, for a program when you're on the rise like that and you're playing a team like Delaware Valley, you got to take care of the ball. And really the killer was the first interception from Gasparovic. Stevenson stops Del Val on the first possession, forces the punt, and then Miller fumbles it, and Delaware Valley picks up at the 13. They score. Not too big a deal. Delaware Valley hasn't been able to stop your offense, but then you come out and you turn it over immediately, and then you turn it over again. And actually the Stevenson defense did a really nice job holding Del Val out of the end zone both times. Otherwise it could have been very lopsided, but they held them out and held them in the game. But once that happened and Delaware Valley had a 2-score lead, it took Lee away, it took Holly away, and it made the Mustangs a pass-only offense, which is not what they want to be.
Yeah, Miller muffing the pump, then the turnover by Kasparovic. Kasparovic had 3 interceptions in this game. They all came at bad moments. Yeah. And Delaware Valley, you're right, didn't score touchdowns necessarily, but took advantage of every single turnover.
Yeah, they did. You know, they've been they've taken care of business against teams really over the last few years. You know, as they become more developed and more mature as a program. When other teams make mistakes, they generally capitalize. And Stevenson will get there. I mean, this is a program, we said a number of times in our broadcast, they're on the rise. It's just a question of how far, how fast. Yeah. And today they played one half of very solid football. They made some mistakes. They've got a big bounce back game next week, but this is not going to be a program that's picked in the second half of the standings next year or for many years to come.
What interesting was at halftime, it looked like Delaware Valley, given a short field for starters, but really decided to go to the ground game. They did not throw a lot in the second half, and man, did that wear out the Stevenson defense.
Yeah, a little surprised. Aaron Wilmer, who's their quarterback, has been the quarterback here for a while. Aaron was a red shirt freshman from Westchester. They love his athleticism, and you know, a lot of today he runs up to the line and draws the secondary to him, and then he backs up and throws it. Aaron picks his spots. Today he didn't have a lot of shots. One thing about the Aggies on offense this year, they're not particularly deep at wide receiver. And Lewis Vincent, who's really one of 2 primary targets, was nursing some sort of injury, and then it really narrows them down to Rasheed Bailey as their only target, and they decided to ride Schuberth. The other thing about the Aggies' offensive line, still coming together, and as you know, if you can let your offensive line be on the attack on offense, running the ball, it can hide some of those problems you have in pass protection.
And you talk about Schuberth, 214 yards, 4 touchdowns, ties a school record. I think I overheard you say 5 other players with that mark. That's a pretty impressive thing, and really, that was mostly second half.
Yeah, he had about 40 yards in the first half, and it was really, you know, I think you saw the Aggies' game plan today was to slow things down because they looked at the Stevenson tape, they see how well they move the ball, they see they can score fast, and it was almost like an anti-Chip Kelly thing. It was like, what are we going to do? We're going to slow things down, and how do you do that? You run the ball.
And, of course, we should mention, of the 214 yards, his longest was only 28 yards for Schubert, so he really worked the ball. Looking ahead, Lycoming coming up, beat Widener. This is a big game for Delaware Valley on a season that a lot of people had question marks about.
Yeah, I still, you know, for what it's worth, and I'm sure the Del Val guys will see it and razz me later, but, you know, I still think Lycoming's the best team in the conference. I think playing at home is a huge advantage. That's a brutal road trip. Yeah. And, you know, but it's funny that the 4 top teams have worked themselves into playing each other in back-to-back weeks. So Del Val will play Stevenson and then Lyco. Lyco plays Widener and then Del Val, and Stevenson plays Del Val and then Widener. So, you know, not a crushing blow for Stevenson, not a season-defining win for Del Val. Basically, 2 losses probably takes you out of the picture, but 1 does not. You still got a lot of football to play. You know, big games for Del Val and big games for Stevenson down the line.
Again, Del Val will play Lycoming next week. Stevenson will be at home against Widener. Should mention, as he mentioned, Delaware Valley on the road. Any final thoughts on this game and the season as we're 4 games in now?
Delaware Valley's defense is coming together. The defensive line played really, really well. That's Jim Clements' specialty. You know, previous Delaware Valley teams, when they've been really good, they've put up a lot of points, and they can score. They scored 41 here today. But the defense is coming together. They don't have a lot of All-American style candidates, but Danny Wynn, who's a safety, is real good. Defensive line is starting to come together, and that's sort of the hallmark of them. The offense carries them a little bit, and as the defense gets stronger, the team gets stronger. And, you know, next week it's strength on strength against Lyco.
And of course, for Stevenson, not all aspects played well, especially in the second half. Special teams, you had a fumble. Offense struggled with the turnovers from Kasparovic, and of course, defense really had trouble stopping the run today. They'll have a tough task next week against Widener. He's Gordon Mann. I'm Dave McHugh. We hope to see this D3 report on D3football.com.